Have you ever imagined waking up at your own funeral? Sounds like a horror movie, doesn't it? But it was true. This man had a terrible accident and was pronounced dead. His funeral was arranged with all the pomp and circumstance. But amidst the lamentations and tears, something surprising happened. While everyone mourned the supposed loss, the man awoke from his state of unconsciousness. What he heard next left him petrified. His wife and his lover, people he trusted, were celebrating his death. They were planning how to divide his fortune, as if he were just an obstacle in their paths. Fear seized him. He realized he was trapped in a dangerous situation and needed to act quickly to save his own life. But how would he do that? Could he escape unscathed from this game of betrayal and greed? But before I tell you this story, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel because the next videos will touch you even more. Daniel was known in town as one of the most successful businessmen in the region. With his elegant demeanor and confident smile, Daniel charmed everyone around him. His life seemed like a modern fairy tale, a beautiful house, luxurious cars, and a charming wife named Sophia. Together, they formed the perfect couple in everyone's eyes. Daniel was admired for his business acumen and his generosity in helping the local community. His name was synonymous with success and prosperity. However, behind this shining facade were secrets and hidden feelings that Daniel preferred to keep away from the spotlight. The pressures of work and society's expectations began to weigh on him, leaving him with a sense of emptiness that he couldn't fill. Even with all the material wealth, Daniel felt that something crucial was missing in his life. Despite the facade of happiness, Daniel and Sophia's life was far from perfect. The nights that were once filled with laughter and deep conversations now seemed empty and superficial. Daniel began to notice small details that disturbed him, such as mysterious phone calls and discreet text messages that Sophia always made an effort to hide. He tried to ignore these signs, attributing them to work stress or a lack of communication between them. However, as the days went by, the sense of disconnection between the couple only grew. Daniel found himself increasingly distant from his wife, unable to understand what was happening to their relationship. Suspicions of infidelity began to haunt him, leaving him restless and anxious. He struggled to find a way to address the issue with Sophia, afraid of what he might uncover. What was once a happy and harmonious marriage was now shrouded in doubt and uncertainty, casting a shadow over Daniel's life. One day, while searching for an important document in his office, Daniel found a letter addressed to Sophia hidden in a drawer. Intrigued, he opened the letter and his heart sank as he read the words of love directed to his wife by another man. Shock and disbelief flooded his mind as he tried to process what he had just discovered. As staring at the letter, with trembling hands, Daniel mutters to himself, it can't be true." Daniel's world crumbled as he realized that his wife, the woman he blindly trusted, was having an affair. Feelings of betrayal and pain hit him like an avalanche, leaving him reeling. He found himself struggling to breathe as the cruel reality unfolded before his eyes. The seemingly perfect marriage he had imagined had collapsed, revealing a betrayal he never imagined facing. Daniel stood at a crossroads, unsure how to deal with the overwhelming pain consuming his heart. The discovery of the betrayal shook his foundations, leading him to question everything he thought he knew about love and trust. And so, he found himself plunged into a whirlwind of emotions, unsure where to turn for comfort. Despite the excruciating pain consuming his heart, Daniel knew he couldn't simply ignore his wife's betrayal. With a lump in his throat and fierce determination, he decided to confront her about the affair. He hoped to find an explanation, a justification for the betrayal that had shattered his world. With steady steps, Daniel made his way to the room where Sophia was, his heart pounding so loudly he could hear it in his ears. Upon entering, he found Sophia sitting on the edge of the bed, her eyes widening in surprise at the distressed look on Daniel's face. In a mix of emotions, Daniel found the courage to confront her about the letter he had found. What's wrong, Daniel? Why do you look so pale?" Daniel, holding up the letter, with a trembling voice responds, "Why?" "Because I found this, Sophia." Sophia, swallowing hard as she recognizes the letter, says, "Daniel, I can explain." Daniel, his voice choked with emotion, says, "No, there's no need for an explanation. It's all clear now." Sophia, crying, pleads, "Please, listen to me, Daniel. I made a terrible mistake, but..." Daniel, closing his eyes for a moment, trying to hold back tears, retorts, "A mistake? This wasn't a mistake, Sophia. This was a betrayal that shattered my heart. How can I believe your words of love now, when I know you were declaring your love for another man?" Sophia, falling to her knees, begs Daniel, "Please, give me a chance to fix this. I'll do anything to prove to you that I still love you." Daniel, looking at her with sadness, replies, "I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can get past this, Sophia. The trust we had is broken, and I don't know if it will ever be possible to fix it." The words came out of his mouth with difficulty, each syllable laden with pain and sorrow. He looked into Sophia's eyes, hoping for a response that never came. Silence hung heavily between them, while the painful truth lingered in the air. Daniel felt as if he were on the edge of an abyss, unsure if he could trust the woman he loved again. But he knew he needed to resolve this situation, no matter how difficult it may be. Behind the scenes, Sophia and her lover, Robert, were plotting a cruel plan to get rid of Daniel once and for all. In the silence of the night, they secretly gathered to discuss the details of their sinister plan. Every step was calculated with precision, every detail planned to ensure that Daniel disappeared without a trace. Sophia's heart was filled with guilt, but her thirst for freedom and passion blinded her to the consequences of their actions. Robert, on the other hand, was determined to protect his relationship with Sophia at any cost, even if it meant resorting to extreme measures. Robert, we need to ensure that Daniel never discovers our true plans. If he suspects anything, everything will be lost." "I agree, Sophia. Every detail of this trap needs to be perfect. We cannot leave room for errors." "I know. But sometimes I feel so guilty. What we're doing is terrible. We cannot allow guilt to weaken us, Sophia. Our freedom, our future together, are at stake." Staring at him intently, Sophia says, "You're right. We need to stay focused. We cannot allow anything to stop us. And now, let's go over every detail of the plan. Every step needs to be calculated with precision. We cannot leave any loopholes. Our future depends on it." Together, they wove a web of lies and deceit, hoping their diabolical plan would succeed. But fate is a relentless master, and the secrets they thought were buried forever would soon come to light, triggering a series of events that would change their lives forever. The days that followed were marked by melancholy and pain as news of Daniel's death spread throughout the town. The funeral was arranged with all the care and respect due to a man so esteemed by the community. Relatives, friends, and acquaintances gathered to pay their last respects to Daniel, while the church echoed with the gentle sound of funeral hymns. Among the mourners, Sophia and Robert, her wife and lover, exchanged a look laden with feigned sorrow. Beneath the veil of grief and commotion, they came together to mourn the loss of a man who meant so much to them, but for very different reasons. As the attendees bowed in silence before the closed coffin, Sophia and Robert exchanged furtive glances, knowing that their secret was safe for now. Mourning enveloped everyone, but behind the shed tears, there were secrets that remained hidden in the shadows. Daniel's funeral became a stage for the enactment of a tragedy that only a few knew in its entirety, while the outside world remained oblivious to the drama unfolding behind the scenes. Concerned if everything was going well with their Machiavellian plan, Sophia whispers to Robert, "How are you feeling? Is everything okay?" Robert, with a somber expression, replies, "I'm not sure. I'm not very comfortable. It's strange to be here, sharing this grief with so many others. But we have to keep up appearances, at least for now." Sophia, suspicious, looks around to make sure no one has overheard their conversation with Robert. It seems like no one suspects anything, at least for now. Both glance at each other for a moment, sharing a mutual understanding as the funeral continues around them, knowing that their secret is safe for now. While friends and family gathered to bid farewell to Daniel, who was trapped inside his own coffin, his mind was in turmoil as he tried to process what was happening. He could hear the murmurs of the people around him, smell the scent of the flowers that had been placed on his grave, but everything seemed distant and unreal. One moment ago, he was facing his wife's betrayal. Now, he found himself at the center of his own farewell, unable to comprehend how his life had come to this point. With a racing heart and a growing sense of panic, Daniel tried to move, only to discover that he was trapped inside the coffin, unable to escape. The cruel reality of his situation finally began to seep into his stunned mind, and he realized with horror that he was being buried alive. But Daniel was not a man to give up easily. With fierce determination, he suppressed the instinct of panic and focused on one thing: survival. He controlled his breathing, suppressing any sign of life that could betray his presence inside the coffin. As tears streamed down his face, he promised himself that he would find a way to escape this deadly trap and reveal the truth behind his supposed death. Thus, even as the world considered him lost, Daniel was determined to prove that he was alive and that his story was far from over. As Daniel remained motionless inside the coffin, he could hear distant voices echoing in the air. As the sounds became clearer, a sense of horror seized him as he recognized the voices of his wife and the man she was betraying him with. With his heart pounding in his chest, Daniel heard Sophia and Robert's cruel words, celebrating his supposed death and planning their future together. Every laugh and every word of triumph pierced his soul, leaving him in a state of paralyzing shock. Daniel thinking to himself, "How can this be happening? I'm inside my own coffin, listening to my wife and that traitor planning their future as if I were just an obstacle to overcome." Sophia, with a tone of disdain, says to Robert, "We're finally free from this burden. Daniel was never able to make me happy. Now we can truly be happy together." Robert, with a sarcastic laugh, discreetly responds near the coffin, "Yes, Sophia. It's our moment. No more suspicious glances, no more lies. Just the two of us." Daniel is in shock, unable to believe what he's hearing. Unable to react, he wonders, how could they do this? I gave everything for her, and she betrayed me with him. Sophia mockingly leans close to the coffin and asks, "Did you see how he looks at me, Daniel? He makes me feel alive in a way you never could. You were always so predictable." Robert, with an air of superiority, speaks towards Daniel, "You're a dead man now, Daniel. Your wife is mine, and there's nothing you can do about it." Daniel, trying to keep calm despite the anger boiling inside him, tells himself, "They will pay for this. I can't let this happen. I have to find a way out of here and show them they can't toy with me like this." Sophia, suddenly with a more serious tone, asks Robert, "Are you sure he's dead? I'm still nervous about all this." Robert impatiently replies, "Of course he's dead, Sophia. You saw what we did to him. No one could survive that." Daniel becomes even more determined not to rest until they pay for everything they've done. For a moment, he felt as if he were out of his own body, watching helplessly as his life crumbled before his eyes. But even in the suffocating darkness of the coffin, the flame of determination burned within Daniel. He refused to be a victim of their betrayals, promising himself that he would find a way to escape and confront those who had betrayed him. With every word of contempt he heard, Daniel's determination grew, fueled by the fire of injustice. He knew he couldn't remain silent for much longer. It was time for him to rise up and reveal the truth behind his death. Within the somber confinement of the coffin, Daniel was forced to face the truth about his life. He reminisced about the happy moments he had shared with his wife, the promises of eternal love they exchanged, and the dreams they once shared. However, these memories were now overshadowed by the bitter taste of betrayal and disappointment. Daniel lamented the mistakes he made, the times he ignored signs of infidelity, and allowed his naivety to blind him to the truth. But as anger simmered within him, an unyielding determination also grew. He could not let Sophia and Robert go unpunished for their crimes. A burning desire for revenge consumed his chest, fueled by the pain of betrayal and the injustice he had suffered. Daniel knew he would not rest until those who had betrayed him faced the consequences of their actions. With a sharp mind and a heart hardened by pain, he began to devise his plan to exact revenge on his betrayers, promising himself that he would bring to light the truth hidden behind his death. Daniel began to meticulously plan his revenge. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to expose Sophia and Robert. With a sharp mind and a heart full of determination, he devised a bold plan to return to life and expose the guilty parties. First, he needed to find a way to escape from the coffin and the grave that imprisoned him. With skill and cunning, Daniel began to work in secret, searching for any loophole or flaw he could exploit to gain his freedom. Meanwhile, he silently observed his enemies, gathering information and evidence that he would use to unmask them. Every move was calculated with precision, every detail carefully planned to ensure the success of his plan. The solemn silence of the ceremony was broken by a collective gasp of shock when suddenly, the lid of the coffin was violently pushed open. Daniel, the man everyone believed to be dead, now stood before them, alive and pulsating with energy. Panic spread through the crowd as minds struggled to comprehend what they were witnessing. Sophia and Robert, the perpetrators of the betrayal that had nearly cost Daniel his life, paled at the sight of their former husband and lover, their masks of innocence crumbling before the astonished eyes of everyone present. Daniel cast a piercing gaze towards those who betrayed him, each confident step echoing like thunder in the sepulchral silence of the church. With a firm and authoritative voice, he revealed the truth that had remained hidden for so long, exposing the guilty before all. Daniel was determined to ensure that justice was served. Suspense hung in the air as the truth was revealed, the attendees witnessing a moment that would be etched in their minds forever. In the center of the church, the stage was set for the most agonizing confrontation of their lives. Daniel stared at Sophia and Robert with a cold intensity, his eyes burning with a mix of pain and anger. Sophia trembled under her husband's accusatory gaze, while Robert tried to hide his guilt behind a facade of indifference. But the masks they had worn for so long began to crumble in the face of the truth. With a firm and controlled voice, Daniel began to reveal the secrets that had been hidden in the shadows for so long. He exposed every lie, every betrayal, every moment of pain that had occurred. The words fell like sharp daggers, cutting through the fragile defenses of Sophia and Robert. Rising from the coffin, Daniel asks, "What is everyone looking at? Have you never seen someone come back from the dead before?" Sophia, stunned, asks, "Daniel, but how?" Robert, swallowing hard, says, This can't be real." Daniel, fixing them with a penetrating gaze, says, "Though, it's very real, Sophia and Robert. As real as your betrayal, conspiring to kill me and divide my fortune? Your lies almost cost me my life. You will pay for your crimes." Robert becomes desperate, claiming that it was all a misunderstanding. Daniel dedicated himself to courageously exposing the entire truth behind his death. He did not rest until he gathered irrefutable evidence that absolved him of any guilt and incriminated Sophia and Robert for their betrayals. In a court of law, before justice and the law, Daniel presented his evidence, revealing the lies and manipulations that had been woven to cover up their crimes. The verdict was clear: Daniel was innocent and Sophia and Robert were found guilty of betrayal and conspiracy. The consequences of their actions were severe, with penalties being imposed according to the law. As Sophia and Robert faced the consequences of their actions, Daniel found the strength to move forward. With the dust of the past slowly settling, Daniel looked to the horizon with renewed determination. He knew he had endured difficult trials, but each challenge he faced had strengthened him, shaping him into a more resilient version of himself. Learning from the mistakes of his tumultuous past, Daniel committed himself to cultivating genuine relationships based on mutual respect and trust. Each new dawn brought with it the promise of opportunities to grow, learn, and become the best version of himself. With firm steps and a heart full of hope, Daniel embraced each challenge as an opportunity for growth, each obstacle as a chance to strengthen his determination. And as Daniel lived, he discovered new passions, new friendships, and a deep sense of purpose. I want to see more exciting content like this? Then don't waste any time. Subscribe now to our channel to receive updates and not miss any future videos. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave your like to support us. Together, let's create even more amazing moments. Subscribe and leave your like now, and see you in the next video.